I love ozone. I was at a meeting and I saw an ozone machine. Ozone? It's an oxidant. Aren't we supposed to be concerned about oxidants? He said, I got some German literature on it. Would you like to read it? So I took it back to my room that night. I couldn't put it down. I finished reading his stuff around 2 a.m. I'm not a morning person, but I got up a half an hour early so I could be at the exhibit hall early so I could be the first one in there to buy the machine. And that changed my life. I took that machine back to Alaska, and with the very first patient, my life changed because the results were so phenomenal on a wide variety of conditions. Ozone took over my whole medical life. Well, for years, guys like me have been seeing really, quote, weird, end quote, stuff. Like stuff you can't put your finger on. Chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, headaches, malaise, brain fog. What's the diagnosis for this? Modern medicine only has descriptive diagnoses. All of it's a description. Fibromyalgia is a description. Even rheumatoid arthritis is a description. And I'm seeing people that the other guys have failed on, and I started doing ozone, and these conditions started responding, fully responding. And things have changed since then. We're in a much more toxic world than we were 30 years ago, so it's much slower to respond than it was then. I mean, as good as the results we're getting today, can you imagine what it was like for me back then? I felt like I was in heaven medically because of nice results. For example, children with autism. I got a kid with really bad autism better in fast time. I had a child with mononucleosis who was out of school for weeks. He gets a couple treatments. He's back in school in a couple days. And children always did better than adults, and they should, because they're younger. But then I was treating fibromyalgia and all this wastebasket collection. The patients aren't wastebasket. You know what I mean by wastebasket. The diagnosis. And they got better, and very easily got better. And then as the years progressed in the early 2000s, we came to see that a lot of what we were treating is Lyme disease. And we didn't know it. And we still don't know it because you can't diagnose Lyme very well. It's a clinical diagnosis. And in the early 2000s, I didn't even bother testing for Lyme because there was too many that I knew were positive, and their tests were negative. So what good is the test going to do? I'm going to treat them anyway. And ozone seemed to be working for almost all of them. Not all, but most all of them. When I added it to chelation therapy, it very significantly sped up the resolution of coronary artery disease. Well, it makes sense. Coronary artery disease is in part infectious or inflammatory, and ozone modulates inflammation. And it also treats infection. It improves oxygenation. You earlier were asking me about what are the main things that ozone does. So I'll tell you what I know from my reading. Ozone improves the rheological properties of blood. Rheology means flow properties, meaning the blood cells can get through the blood vessel better. Did you know that a red blood cell has a bigger diameter than the capillary it goes through? How does it get through there? It has to fold. Well, if it doesn't fold up, it stacks up, and you get a pile of coins, and it's not getting through, and the tissues are starving of oxygen. Ozone helps that. It improves the red cell flexibility, so that's rheology. It appears that ozone increases 2,3-DGP. So ozone not only improves red cell flexibility, it improves oxygen delivery. So you get dumping of oxygen. We have clear evidence that ozone also improves mitochondrial oxygen consumption. If you consume more oxygen, then you have to be getting more ATP energy. And we see that in the clinical results of people. Ozone, being an oxidant, can oxidize the membranes of viruses and bacteria and inactivate them and kill them. So it's microbicide. And even if ozone doesn't do it itself, its downstream metabolites are oxidants. So ozone, when you react it with blood, the ozone's gone instantly, like in microseconds. So what's doing it? Well, there's peroxides, there's aldehydes, there's other things that the ozone makes that are still strong oxidants that can knock off the bad guys. And finally, ozone modulates the immune system. So that's 5 things I just told you. Did I hit them all? It improves the redox system, oxidation reduction. So if this part of your immune system's like this, it brings it back into balance, and if it's like this, it brings it back into balance.